The sterile scent of antiseptic hung heavy in the air, a constant, unwelcome reminder of the battle being waged within the walls of the Seoul National University Hospital. Gong sat rigidly in the uncomfortable plastic chair, his eyes fixed on the pale, still form of his son, Min-jun, lying motionless in the hospital bed. The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor was the only sound that filled the oppressive silence, a morbid metronome counting down the seconds of a life that seemed to be slipping away. Just weeks ago, Min-jun had been a whirlwind of energy, a mischievous imp with a smile that could melt glaciers. He loved to run, to climb trees, to chase butterflies in the small garden behind their modest apartment building. Now, he was tethered to machines, his vibrant spirit dimmed by a rare and aggressive form of leukemia that had defied every attempt at treatment. The doctors, those paragons of scientific knowledge and unwavering optimism, had finally admitted defeat. Their words, delivered with practiced compassion, echoed in Gong-yu's mind. "We've exhausted all options, Mr. Gong. There's nothing more we can do." He remembered the day Dr. Lee, the head oncologist, had delivered the devastating news. The rain had been lashing against the windows, mirroring the storm raging within him. "Mr. Gong," Dr. Lee had said, his voice heavy with regret, "Min-jun's body is no longer responding to the chemotherapy. The cancer is spreading too rapidly. We believe he only has a few weeks left." Gong-yu had simply stared at the doctor, unable to comprehend the finality of those words. A few weeks? His son, his bright, beautiful boy, only had a few weeks to live? It was an impossible equation, a cruel joke played by a heartless universe. He had spent the subsequent days and a daze, moving through the motions of life like a ghost. He visited Min-jun every day, reading him stories, singing him songs, desperately trying to conjure the spark that had once burned so brightly in his eyes. But the light was fading, replaced by a weary resignation that broke his heart anew each time he saw it. The hospital garden, usually a source of solace, had become a place of torment. He could no longer bear to see the vibrant flowers, the lush green foliage, the very symbols of life thriving while his son withered away. He avoided it, choosing to remain within the confines of the sterile hospital room, a prisoner of his own grief. One day, as he sat beside Min-jun, stroking his thin, fragile hand, he noticed a new face tending to the garden. An old man, his face etched with wrinkles that spoke of a life lived outdoors, was carefully pruning a rose bush. He moved with a quiet grace, his hands gentle and knowing. Gong-yu had never seen him before. He watched the old man for a while, a strange sense of curiosity stirring within him. There was something about his presence, a quiet dignity and unwavering calm, that drew him in. He finally rose from his chair and walked out into the garden, the oppressive weight of the hospital momentarily lifting from his shoulders. "Excuse me," Gong-yu said, his voice hoarse. "I haven't seen you here before." The old man looked up, his eyes, the color of rich earth, crinkling at the corners. "I'm Mr. Park," he said, his voice a low, comforting rumble. "I'm the new gardener." He paused, then added, "I understand your son is unwell." Gong-yu nodded, unable to speak past the lump in his throat. Mr. Park simply smiled, a knowing, compassionate smile that offered no false hope, only understanding. "Sometimes," he said softly, "the earth holds secrets that even the most learned doctors cannot comprehend." He then turned back to the rose bush, his hands moving with a practiced ease. Gong-yu watched him, a flicker of something he hadn't felt in weeks, a tiny spark of hope, igniting within his chest. What secrets could the earth possibly hold? And could they possibly save his son? He didn't know, but for the first time in a long time, he felt a glimmer of possibility in the face of overwhelming despair. He watched Mr. Park work, a silent question hanging in the air, a plea for a miracle whispered on the wind. Mr. Park, seemingly oblivious to Gong-yu's unspoken question, continued his work, humming a low, almost imperceptible tune. The air hung heavy with the scent of damp earth and blooming roses, a stark contrast to the sterile, antiseptic atmosphere of the hospital. Gong Yu found himself drawn to the rhythmic snip of the pruning shears, the gentle rustling of leaves, the simple, unhurried movements of the old man's hands. It was a world away from the frantic beeping of machines and the hushed, worried whispers of doctors and nurses. After a while, Mr. Park straightened up, wiping his brow with a handkerchief. He turned to Gong Yu, his gaze steady and unwavering. "The earth," he began, his voice low and thoughtful, "is a powerful healer. It holds within it the secrets of life, of growth, of renewal. We have forgotten how to listen to it, how to learn from it." Gong Yu frowned, unsure of what Mr. Park was trying to say. "I don't understand," he admitted. "My son is dying. The doctors have given up. What does the earth have to do with any of this?" Mr. Park smiled sadly. "The doctors treat the body, Mr. Gong," he said gently. "But they often forget to treat the spirit. And it is the spirit that needs healing now, both your son's and yours." He gestured towards a small, unassuming patch of earth near the base of the rose bush. "Come," he said. "I want to show you something." Gong Yu hesitated for a moment, then followed Mr. Park to the patch of earth. The old man knelt down, his weathered hands gently digging into the soil. He unearthed a small, gnarled root, its surface covered in tiny nodules. "This," Mr. Park said, holding up the root, "is ginseng. It is a powerful herb, known for its healing properties for centuries. It strengthens the body, calms the mind, and revitalizes the spirit." Gong Yu stared at the root, a flicker of hope, brighter than before, igniting within him. Can it help my son?" he asked, his voice trembling. Mr. Park didn't answer directly. "It can help him find strength," he said. "It can help him connect with the earth, with the life force that flows through all things. Whether that is enough, that is not for me to say." He then proceeded to explain how to prepare a tea from the ginseng root, emphasizing the importance of intention and belief. "The earth responds to our intentions," he said. "If you believe in its power to heal, it will respond." That evening, Gong Yu carefully followed Mr. Park's instructions. He washed the ginseng root, sliced it thinly, and steeped it in hot water. As the tea brewed, he sat beside Min-jun, holding his hand, whispering words of love and hope. The scent of the ginseng filled the room, a warm, earthy aroma that seemed to penetrate the sterile atmosphere of the hospital. When the tea was ready, he gently offered it to Min-jun. His son was weak and barely conscious, but he managed to sip a small amount of the tea. Gong Yu watched him, his heart pounding in his chest, praying for a miracle. He continued to give Min-jun the ginseng tea every day, following Mr. Park's instructions to the letter. He also started spending more time in the hospital garden, helping Mr. Park with his work, learning about the different plants and their healing properties. He found a strange sense of peace in the simple act of tending to the earth, a connection to something larger than himself, larger than his grief. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, almost imperceptibly, Min-jun began to show signs of improvement. His fever subsided, his breathing became easier, and he even started to eat a little. He was still weak, but there was a spark of life in his eyes that had been missing for so long. The doctors were baffled. They ran tests, consulted with specialists, but they couldn't explain the change. It's remarkable," Dr. Lee admitted, shaking his head in disbelief. "I can't say I understand it, but it seems like Min-jun is responding to something." Gong Yu knew what that something was. It was the ginseng tea, the connection to the earth, the unwavering hope that Mr. Park had instilled in him. It was a miracle, born not of science, but of nature, of belief, of love. One afternoon, as Gong Yu and Mr. Park were working in the garden, Min-jun, supported by his father, walked out to join them. He was still pale and frail, but he was walking. He smiled at Mr. Park, a weak but genuine smile. "Thank you," he whispered, "for the garden." Mr. Park smiled back, his eyes filled with warmth. "The garden is for everyone, Min-jun," he said. "But it is you who have brought it to life." Gong Yu watched his son, his heart overflowing with gratitude. The doctors had given up, but the gardener had not. He had built something, not just a garden, but a bridge to hope, a path to healing. And in doing so, he had given Gong Yu his son back. The miracle wasn't just Minjun's recovery. It was the rediscovery of hope in the face of despair, the understanding that even in the darkest of times, life, like the earth, finds a way. The following weeks were a delicate dance between hope and anxiety. Minjun's progress wasn't linear. There were days when he seemed stronger, his laughter echoing softly in the sterile halls. Then there were days when the fatigue would return, casting a shadow over his small frame, reminding Gong Yu of the fragility of their victory. Dr. Li, though still scientifically perplexed, became a cautious ally. He began researching alternative therapies, poring over ancient texts and modern studies on the potential benefits of herbal medicine. He even started consulting with Mr. Park, a move that raised eyebrows among his colleagues but demonstrated a willingness to explore avenues beyond the conventional. One cool morning, Dr. Li approached Gong Yu in the garden. Minjun was napping in a nearby chair, a blanket draped over him. Mr. Park was carefully pruning a rose bush, his movements deliberate and peaceful. Mr. Gong, Dr. Li began, his voice unusually subdued. I've been reviewing Minjun's case, and, well, I can't explain it medically. But the improvements are undeniable. His white blood cell count is still elevated, but his body is responding to treatment in ways we couldn't have predicted. He paused, then continued. I'm not suggesting we abandon conventional medicine. Chemotherapy is still necessary to keep the leukemia at bay. But perhaps we can integrate some of Mr. Park's methods. A holistic approach, if you will. Gong Yu nodded, a wave of relief washing over him. That's all I've ever wanted, doctor, he said. To give my son every possible chance. Dr. Li cleared his throat. I've also been looking into bone marrow transplants. It's a long shot, but it's still the most effective long-term solution for leukemia. We've tested Minjun's siblings, but unfortunately, they're not a match. The familiar ache of despair threatened to engulf Gong Yu. The transplant was their last, best hope. Without it, the leukemia would inevitably return. Mr. Park, sensing the shift in mood, stopped pruning and turned to face them. Don't lose hope, Mr. Gong, he said gently. The earth provides in unexpected ways. He walked over to a small, unassuming patch of earth and knelt down. With his weathered hands, he carefully unearthed a small plant, its leaves a vibrant green. This, he said, holding up the plant, is a rare variety of clover. It's known to have unique genetic properties. I've been cultivating it here for years, hoping it would find its purpose. He looked at Gong Yu, his eyes filled with a knowing light. Sometimes, the cure is right under our feet, waiting to be discovered. Dr. Li looked skeptical, but intrigued. He carefully examined the clover, his medical mind already racing with possibilities. I'll need to run tests, of course, he said. But it's worth investigating. Days later, the results came back. The clover contained a unique protein that, surprisingly, shared a high degree of compatibility with Minjun's bone marrow. It wasn't a perfect match, but it was closer than anything they had found before. Dr. Li was cautiously optimistic. It's still a risk, he cautioned, but it could be our best chance. We can use the clover's protein to stimulate Minjun's bone marrow, to encourage it to produce healthy cells. The treatment was experimental, and the risks were significant. But Gong Yu knew they had no other choice. He placed his trust in Dr. Li, in Mr. Park, and in the unwavering power of hope. The following weeks were a blur of medical procedures, herbal remedies, and unwavering faith. Gong Yu spent every waking moment by Minjun's side, reading him stories, singing him songs, and whispering words of encouragement. Mr. Park continued to tend to the garden, his presence a constant source of comfort and strength. Slowly, painstakingly, Minjun began to respond to the treatment. His white blood cell count stabilized, his energy levels increased, and the spark of life in his eyes burned brighter than ever before. One sunny afternoon, Dr. Li approached Gong Yu in the garden, a rare smile on his face. Mr. Gong, he said, I have good news. The latest tests are conclusive. Minjun is in remission. Gong Yu's knees buckled beneath him. He sank to the ground, tears streaming down his face. He had dared to hope, but he had never truly believed that this day would come. He looked at Mr. Park, who was standing nearby, a gentle smile on his face. "Thank you," Gong Yu whispered, his voice choked with emotion. "Thank you for everything." Mr. Park simply nodded, his eyes filled with warmth. "The earth provides, Mr. Gong," he said. "We just have to learn how to listen." Minjun, who had been playing nearby, ran over to his father and wrapped his arms around him. "I'm better, Daddy," he said, his voice filled with joy. "I'm really better." Gong Yu hugged his son tightly, burying his face in his hair. He had almost lost him, but now he was here, alive and healthy. The miracle had happened, not because of science alone, but because of the combined power of medicine, nature, and unwavering hope. The doctors had given up, but the gardener had not. And in the end, it was the gardener's creation, his unwavering belief in the healing power of the earth, that had saved Gong Yu's son. Gong Yu held Minjun close, the warmth of his small body a tangible miracle against his chest. The garden, once a symbol of impending loss, now bloomed with renewed life, mirroring the vibrant health returning to his son. Dr. Li, still wearing a look of bewildered awe, approached them. "We'll need to monitor him closely, of course," Dr. Li said, adjusting his glasses. "But the initial signs are remarkable. I've never seen anything quite like it." He glanced at Mr. Park, a flicker of respect in his eyes. "Your Clover," he hesitated. "It seems to have triggered a response we couldn't have achieved with conventional methods alone." Mr. Park only smiled serenely, his gaze fixed on the blossoming flowers. "Nature holds secrets we are only beginning to understand, Doctor. Sometimes, the best medicine is simply helping the body heal itself." The following months were filled with cautious optimism. Minjun continued to thrive, his energy boundless, his laughter echoing through the halls of their home, a sound that had been painfully absent for far too long. Gong Yu, once consumed by despair, now found himself filled with a profound sense of gratitude. He spent hours in the garden with Minjun and Mr. Park, learning about the healing properties of different plants, the intricate balance of the ecosystem, and the importance of nurturing both body and soul. One crisp autumn evening, as the leaves began to turn golden, Gong Yu found Mr. Park tending to a new section of the garden. He approached him cautiously, a question lingering in his mind. "Mr. Park," he began, "I've been meaning to ask, how did you know? About the clover, about its properties, it's almost as if you knew Minjun was going to need it." Mr. Park paused, his weathered hands still gently caressing the soil. He looked at Gong Yu, his eyes filled with a wisdom that seemed to transcend time. "I've been studying plants for many years, Mr. Gong," he said softly. "I've learned to listen to them, to understand their language. I knew this particular clover held unique properties, a potential for healing. But I didn't know who it was meant for. I simply cultivated it, hoping it would one day find its purpose." He paused, a thoughtful expression on his face. "Perhaps," he continued, "it wasn't me who knew. Perhaps it was the earth itself, guiding us, showing us the way." Gong Yu pondered his words, a sense of wonder washing over him. He had always been a man of science, of logic and reason. But the events of the past few months had opened his eyes to a different kind of understanding, a deeper connection to the natural world. "Thank you, Mr. Park," Gong Yu said sincerely. "You saved my son's life. You gave us hope when we had none." Mr. Park smiled gently. "I simply helped you find the hope that was already there, Mr. Gong. It was your love for your son, your unwavering faith, that truly made the difference." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the garden, Gong Yu knew that their journey was far from over. Minjun would need continued care, and the threat of relapse would always linger. But he also knew that they were not alone. They had each other, they had the unwavering support of Dr. Li and his medical team, and they had the wisdom and guidance of Mr. Park and the healing power of the earth. And as Minjun ran through the garden, his laughter echoing through the air, Gong Yu knew that, even in the face of adversity, hope could bloom in the most unexpected places. The doctors may have given up, But the gardener had shown them that miracles were still possible, that the earth held secrets waiting to be discovered, and that the power of love and hope could conquer even the darkest of despair. The garden, once a symbol of loss, was now a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the boundless healing power of nature. It was a place where miracles grew and where hope bloomed eternal. Gong Yu watched Minjun chase butterflies amongst the late-blooming roses, a peace settling over him that he hadn't felt in years. He knew the road ahead wouldn't be without its challenges, the shadow of Minjun's illness a constant reminder of their fragility. But he also knew they had found something precious in that garden, a connection to something larger than themselves, a source of strength that defied explanation. Weeks turned into months. Minjun remained strong, his blood count stable, his energy levels exceeding even those of his peers. Dr. Li, though still scientifically cautious, couldn't deny the evidence before him. He began incorporating elements of Mr. Park's philosophy into his practice, encouraging patients to spend time outdoors, to connect with nature, to find solace in the simple beauty of the world around them. He even started a small garden on the hospital grounds, a place where patients and their families could find respite from the sterile environment of the wards. One afternoon, Dr. Li approached Gong Yu in the garden, a hesitant smile on his face. "I wanted to thank you," he said, his voice unusually soft, "for opening my eyes, for showing me that there's more to healing than just medicine." Gong Yu nodded, understanding in his eyes. "We all have something to learn, doctor. The most important thing is to remain open to the possibilities." Dr. Li looked towards Minjun, who was now helping Mr. Park water the plants. "He's a remarkable boy," he said, "a true testament to the power of hope." A year passed. Minjun celebrated his 7th birthday, a milestone that had once seemed impossible. The party was held in the garden, surrounded by friends, family, and the vibrant colors of the blooming flowers. Mr. Park, as always, was a quiet presence, observing the festivities with a gentle smile. As the sun began to set, casting a warm golden glow over the garden, Gong Yu raised a glass in a toast. "To Minjun," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "To his strength, his courage, and his unwavering spirit. And to the power of hope, which can bloom even in the darkest of times." The guests cheered, their voices filled with joy and gratitude. Minjun ran to his father, wrapping his small arms around his legs. "I love you, Appa," he said, his eyes shining. "I love you too, Minjun," Gong Yu replied, his heart overflowing with love. Later that evening, as the last of the guests departed, Gong Yu found Mr. Park sitting quietly on a bench, gazing at the moonlit garden. He sat down beside him, a comfortable silence settling between them. "You know," Gong Yu said, breaking the silence, "I still don't fully understand what happened here. How the clover worked, how you knew, it's all still a mystery to me." Mr. Park smiled serenely. "Some things are not meant to be understood, Mr. Gong. Some things are simply meant to be experienced. The important thing is that Minjun is healthy, that he's happy, and that you have found peace." He paused, his gaze shifting to the stars above. "The earth provides, Mr. Gong. It always has and it always will. We just need to learn to listen, to appreciate its gifts, and to treat it with respect." Gong Yu nodded, understanding dawning in his eyes. He realized that the miracle of Minjun's recovery wasn't just about the clover or Mr. Park's knowledge of plants. It was about the interconnectedness of all things, the power of nature to heal, and the unwavering strength of the human spirit. It was about love, hope, and the ability to find beauty even in the face of despair. As they sat there, bathed in the soft glow of the moonlight, Gong Yu knew that their lives would never be the same. They had been touched by something extraordinary, something that had transformed them in ways they could never have imagined. They had learned the true meaning of hope, the importance of connection, and the enduring power of love. The garden, once a symbol of fear and uncertainty, was now a sanctuary, a place of healing, and a testament to the miracles that could happen when we open our hearts to the possibilities of the world around us. And as Minjun slept peacefully in his bed, Gong Yu knew that their journey was just beginning, a journey filled with hope, love, and the unwavering belief in the power of miracles. He had almost lost everything, but in the end, he had gained so much more. He had gained a deeper understanding of life, a profound appreciation for the beauty of the natural world, and an unbreakable bond with his son. And for that, he would be eternally grateful.